Well, Wonderful Tonight is a really simple chord progression, 4 chords in the key of G. Now, a G scale has 1 sharp in it, so it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And so the 3 major chords that are in the key of G are chords, and this is true of every major key. Hopefully you've been following some of my theory lessons. 1, 4, and 5. 1 is G, A, B, C is 4, and 5 is D. The first chord in the key is called the tonic, and the 5th chord in the key, D, is called the dominant. Those are the 2 main chords that are used to kind of balance each other in a chord progression, and then frequently you throw in the their cousin, chord 4, the subdominant, which is C in this case, along with one of the 3 minor chords in the key, E minor. So all we're looking at is G, C, D, and E minor, 4 chords. Chords 1, 4, 5, and 6. There's a few other things that are really interesting about it because the chord progression frequently uses a D chord in what's called an inversion. So an inversion of a chord is any time you play something other than the root, which is the note the chord is named for, in the bass. So when we play our first G chord in the song, we play it just in standard root position where the lowest note is G. When it goes to the D chord, he uses an inversion of D that doesn't have D as the bass, but uses F sharp as the bass. Now the bass note F sharp is found on the 2nd fret of the 6th string. And so we're going to play D with F sharp in the bass. We'll take a look at the left hand in just a minute as far as the 2 possible ways to play that chord, but one of them is going to include wrapping your thumb around the neck. Well, I'll get more into that in the next chapter. So our D chord is going to be played with F sharp in the bass. F sharp is the 3rd of the chord, so this is called the first inversion of our D chord. But it's again, it's written D/F sharp, and that's what the slash means in the name of any chord. So if you ever see a chord again with a letter and a slash and another letter, first of all, the 2 letters will never be the same, because if there's no slash in the chord, you're going to play the root of the chord as the bass note, which is what it's named for. The slash would always be followed by a different letter. We could play a C chord, but with B in the bass. C/B, and that would be done by moving the bass note from the 3rd fret of the A string, the 5th string, to the 2nd fret. Again, all of these chords, usually they're pretty dissonant when you hear them, and they're used as transitional chords. So what we hear in Wonderful Tonight is the bass going from G in the bass on the G chord to F sharp in the bass, descending a half step rather than going. So we hear this again. Now, usually when that happens, it continues down to an E in the bass and consequently an E minor chord. It doesn't always happen here, it does a few other times. And it does happen in certain spots of the song, which we'll get to as we break down the chord progression and all that stuff. So, we also have a few connecting bass notes from chords. Sometimes we're going to be going from D to C with a little run leading up to the C in the bass, going from A to B to C. So that's about all that's happening in this song. We've got 4 simple chords with a few little bass notes that connect one chord to the next, and that's what the D with F sharp in the bass is, and later on we have a G with F sharp in the bass. So all I need to do is play my G chord and move my 2nd finger from the 3rd fret, which is where G is, taking my 2nd finger to play the F sharp at the 2nd fret of the 6th string. This chord, again, by itself, is very dissonant. It's used as a transitional chord from G to G with F sharp in the bass, taking us to E minor. Again, this is our slightly simplified version of what's happening in Wonderful Tonight, but that's the other passing bass note that we're going to see, and that is kind of the story on chords. I hate to call them slash chords. Technically, they're inversions. It just means a chord with something other than the root in the bass. Anyway, let's take a look at the left hand and how we're really going to finger these chords now.